I'm standing in the doorway of my sister's apartment in downtown Denver on Larimer Street, holding a box of her favorite cupcakes from the Makery Bakery when I hear it. Moaning, coming from her bedroom. And not just any moaning, I recognize that voice. It's my husband, Nathan. I could turn around right now, pretend I never heard anything, and preserve the illusion of my perfect life. That's what the old version of me would have done. Instead, I pull out my phone, start recording, and push the bedroom door open. Nathan and my sister Brooke freeze mid-action, their faces shifting from pleasure to absolute horror in less than 2 seconds. "Don't stop on my account," I say calmly, keeping my phone steady. "I want to make sure I capture this moment perfectly for everyone at Sunday dinner." Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button now. Your support means everything to me, especially if you've ever been betrayed by the two people who were supposed to protect you most. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. Let me rewind so you understand exactly how we got here. I'm Sloane, 27 years old, and I've been married to Nathan for 3 years. We met at a company retreat at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, where we were both working for the same tech startup. He was a software engineer, I was in product management, and we bonded over late-night strategy sessions and terrible conference center coffee. Nathan was smart, funny, and treated me like I was the most fascinating person in the world. When he proposed at Red Rocks Amphitheater during a sunset concert, I cried happy tears and said yes without hesitation. My younger sister Brooke was my maid of honor. She stood beside me at the Oxford Hotel ballroom in her lavender dress, holding my bouquet while I exchanged vows with Nathan, and I remember thinking how lucky I was to have both of them in my life. Brooke and I had always been close growing up in our small house in Littleton. I was the responsible older sister who helped her with homework and drove her to dance practice. She was the spontaneous, artistic one who made me laugh and pushed me out of my comfort zone. When she dropped out of art school at Rocky Mountain College to find herself, I was the one who helped her get an apartment and loaned her money for rent. When she went through a bad breakup last year, Nathan and I let her stay in our guest room at our place in Cherry Creek for 2 months until she got back on her feet. She thanked us by sleeping with my husband. The timeline, I would discover later, was almost comically predictable. She moved out of our guest room in March. By April, Nathan was suddenly having more late nights at the office. By May, he was taking mysterious phone calls in the other room. And by June, I was standing in her bedroom doorway recording proof of their affair. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The real story starts 3 weeks before I walked in on them. I'd been feeling suspicious for a while. Nathan's behavior had changed in subtle ways that added up to something wrong. He was distant during conversations, protective of his phone, and our intimate life had basically evaporated. When I asked him about it, he blamed work stress and said the startup was going through a difficult funding round. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But then I found a receipt in his car from Rioja, an expensive restaurant in Larimer Square, for a dinner I definitely hadn't attended. 2 entrees, a bottle of wine that cost more than our monthly grocery budget, and dessert. The date was 3 weeks ago, on a night Nathan had told me he was working late on a product launch. I didn't confront him. Instead, I started paying attention. Real attention, not the surface-level awareness you give someone you trust. I noticed that his late nights at the office corresponded with nights when Brooke posted Instagram stories about being out at various Denver bars and restaurants, but never showing who she was with. I noticed that the cologne I'd bought Nathan for Christmas had been replaced with a different brand, one I'd never selected. I noticed that he'd started going to the gym at strange hours, like Tuesday mornings at 10 when he was supposedly working from home. And I noticed that Brooke had stopped calling me as frequently, our weekly sister lunches at Snooze AM eatery suddenly becoming too busy, maybe next week repeatedly. The evidence was circumstantial but damning. I needed proof. So I did what any woman in 2024 with decent tech skills would do. I became my own private investigator. I installed a tracking app on Nathan's phone under the guise of family safety features that he barely glanced at before accepting. I checked our cell phone records and found hundreds of texts and calls between Nathan and Brooke, happening at all hours. I created a fake Instagram account and started following both of them, watching their posts for overlapping locations and suspicious timing. And most importantly, I started documenting everything in a private Google Drive folder with screenshots, photos, and a detailed timeline. I wasn't planning to catch them in the act. I was just gathering evidence for the eventual divorce. But then something interesting happened that changed my entire approach. 2 weeks ago, I overheard a phone call that Nathan didn't realize I could hear. He was in our home office at our Cherry Creek townhouse on a video call with someone, and I was in the kitchen making lunch. The walls are thin, and he wasn't being particularly quiet. "I know it's complicated," he was saying, "but Sloane doesn't suspect anything. She's so trusting, it's almost too easy." My blood went cold. "Brooke's worried she'll find out before we're ready," he continued. "But I've got it handled. Once we get through this weekend at her parents' house, we can start making moves. I'll tell Sloane I want a divorce and Brooke will be there to comfort her. It'll seem natural." He laughed at something the person said. "Yeah, exactly. By the time she realizes what happened, we'll already be together and there's nothing she can do about it." I stood in my kitchen, holding a sandwich I no longer wanted to eat, listening to my husband plan my emotional destruction like it was a business strategy. The casual cruelty of it, so trusting, it's almost too easy, hit me like a physical blow. But instead of breaking down, something strange happened. I got angry. Not sad, not heartbroken, just pure, cold, calculating anger. They thought I was stupid. They thought I was naive. They thought I would just accept their betrayal and play my role in their little drama where Brooke comforted me through a divorce she'd helped cause. They were planning to humiliate me and then congratulate themselves for being there for me during the aftermath. That's when I decided I wasn't going to just divorce Nathan. I was going to destroy the fantasy world he and Brooke had built together. I started planning immediately. First, I called a divorce attorney named Rebecca Hartman at Morrison and Forrester in the Denver Tech Center. I explained the situation, provided my evidence, and asked what my options were. "Colorado is a no-fault divorce state," she explained, "but documentation of infidelity can help with asset division and spousal support negotiations. Keep gathering evidence." Next, I reached out to Nathan's boss at the startup, a woman named Christine who I'd met at several company events, under the pretense of planning a surprise for Nathan. "I'm organizing something special," I told her at coffee at Huckleberry Roasters in Baker. "Can you tell me what major projects he's working on? I want to make sure I don't interfere with important deadlines." Christine gave me a detailed rundown of Nathan's work schedule. Turns out, those late nights he'd been claiming. Total fiction. His projects were all on track with normal hours. Then I did something that would prove to be genius. I befriended Vanessa, Brooke's roommate, who I'd met a few times but never really connected with. I invited her to lunch at Root Down in Highland, and we hit it off immediately. "How's Brooke doing?" I asked casually over our salads. "She seems stressed lately." Vanessa hesitated. "She's been distracted, spending a lot of time with some guy she won't tell me about, very secretive." "That's strange," I said, playing innocent. "She usually tells me everything about her dating life. This one's different," Vanessa said. "She comes home late, leaves early, and gets defensive when I ask questions. Honestly, it's been weird living with her lately." I filed that information away and kept building my relationship with Vanessa, knowing she might become useful later. I was collecting allies without anyone realizing there was a war coming. The weekend at my parents' house that Nathan had mentioned arrived. We drove to Boulder together, Nathan chatting normally about work and plans for the summer, completely oblivious that I knew everything. Brooke met us there, hugging me enthusiastically and complimenting my new haircut. The performance was Oscar-worthy. We had a family barbecue at my parents' place near Chautauqua Park, where Mom grilled burgers and Dad showed off his new drone. Brooke and Nathan were careful not to interact too obviously, but I caught the glances, the small smiles, the way Nathan found excuses to be near her when he thought no one was watching. At one point, I saw them disappear into the garage together for 5 minutes. When they came back, Brooke's lipstick was slightly smudged. I said nothing, just smiled and passed the potato salad like everything was fine. That night, lying in bed next to Nathan in my childhood bedroom, I made my final decision. The original plan had been to file for divorce quietly, split our assets, and move on with my life. But after watching him and Brooke perform their elaborate charade all weekend, I realized that wasn't enough. They deserved public humiliation. They deserved to have their betrayal exposed in front of everyone who'd celebrated our marriage and supported their relationship as sisters. They deserved exactly what they'd planned to give me, emotional devastation with an audience. The next morning, I told Nathan I was going to visit Brooke at her apartment to drop off some of Mom's homemade cookies. "That's nice of you," he said, kissing my forehead. "Tell her I said hi." The audacity was breathtaking. I drove to Brooke's place with my box of cupcakes and my phone fully charged. Which brings us back to this moment. Me standing in Brooke's bedroom doorway with my phone recording while Nathan scrambles to cover himself and Brooke bursts into tears. "Sloane, I can explain," Nathan starts. "Please don't," I interrupt calmly. "I already know everything. The late nights that weren't really work, the phone calls, the tracking data showing you at Brooke's apartment 17 times in the past 2 months, the credit card statements for dinners and hotel rooms. The text messages I recovered from our cloud backup, I've known for 3 weeks. Brooke's face goes white. "You knew. I knew, and I've been documenting everything while you two planned your grand reveal, which, by the way, I heard during your phone call last Tuesday, Nathan. So trusting, it's almost too easy. That was a nice touch." Nathan looks like he might throw up. "So you came here to catch us." "I came here to give you both exactly what you deserve," I say, still recording. "See, you thought I'd find out about your affair and just quietly dissolve into tears while you rode off into the sunset together. You thought I was stupid and naive and too trusting to fight back. But here's what you didn't realize. I'm not the same woman you thought you married, Nathan. And Brooke, I'm definitely not the sister you thought you could walk all over." I stop recording and save the video to 3 different cloud services. "What are you going to do with that?" Brooke asks, her voice shaking. "Well, that depends on how the next few days go," I say pleasantly. "See, I've spent 3 weeks planning my response to your betrayal, and I have several options. We can do this the easy way or the nuclear way. Your choice." Nathan finds his voice. "Sloane, we need to talk about this rationally. Rationally. You want to talk rationally about how you've been sleeping with my sister while lying to my face every day. About how you plan to divorce me and then have Brooke comfort me so you could both feel like good people." I laugh, and it sounds unhinged even to my own ears. "There's nothing rational about what you've done, but here's what's going to happen. I'm filing for divorce this week. You're going to agree to every single term my lawyer presents because if you don't, this video goes to your boss, your parents, and every mutual friend we have on social media." "You're blackmailing me?" Nathan asks incredulously. "I'm giving you an option. You can preserve some dignity by cooperating, or I can make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. Your choice." Brooke finally speaks up. "Sloane, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen." "Stop," I cut her off. "Don't give me the 'it just happened' speech. Affairs don't just happen. They require planning, lies, and deliberate choices. You chose to pursue my husband. Nathan chose to cheat on his wife with her sister. Those were conscious decisions you both made repeatedly." I walk further into the room, and they both instinctively back away from me. "Here's what you need to understand. I don't care if you're in love. I don't care if you think you're soulmates. I don't care about your justifications or your guilt or your tears. What I care about is that you tried to make me the fool in your story. And I'm not playing that role. What do you want from us?" Nathan asks quietly. "I want you to feel exactly how you made me feel," I tell them both. "Humiliated, betrayed, and powerless. So here's how this plays out. Nathan, you're going to move out of our townhouse today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. You'll take only your personal items and leave everything else. You'll sign a separation agreement my lawyer will present tomorrow admitting to adultery, which will speed up our divorce." "And if I don't?" he challenges. "Then this video goes viral and your career at the startup tanks. I've already talked to Christine, your boss. She's very interested in maintaining the company's values-based culture. I don't think infidelity with a subordinate's family member fits that culture, do you?" His face goes pale. I'd made that last part up about him being involved with a subordinate's family member, but the fear in his eyes told me he believed it. "As for you, Brooke." Brooke is crying harder now, mascara running down her face. "I'm sorry, Sloane. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. You were thinking that you wanted what I had, just like you've wanted everything I've had our entire lives. My toys when we were kids, my clothes in high school, my college boyfriend, and now my husband. But here's the thing about taking what belongs to someone else, Brooke. It never actually satisfies you because you didn't earn it. You just stole it." I pull out a folder from my purse. Yes, I'd been carrying it this whole time. This is documentation of every dollar I've loaned you over the past 5 years. $10,000 total. I want it repaid in full within 60 days, or I'm taking you to small claims court." "I don't have $10,000, she protests. "Then I guess you'll need to get a real job instead of calling yourself an aspiring artist while working 10 hours a week at a gallery." Nathan tries to defend her. "Sloane, that's excessive. Is it excessive to want my money back from someone who betrayed me, or is it only excessive when it inconveniences you?" I turn back to Brooke. "And one more thing, I'm telling Mom and Dad everything today with video evidence, so you can either be there to face them or you can be a coward and let them hear it from me alone. Your choice." Brooke's face crumbles completely. Our parents adored Nathan. They'd been so proud when we got married, so happy that I'd found someone stable and responsible. Finding out he'd been sleeping with their younger daughter was going to devastate them, and Brooke knew it. "Please don't tell them," she begs. "Please, Sloane, it'll kill them. You should have thought about that before you slept with my husband in my guest room while I was at work." The detail makes Nathan flinch. I just confirmed something I'd only suspected. I head toward the door, then pause and turn back. "Oh, and one more thing. You two deserve each other. Not in a romantic, meant-to-be way, but in the way that cheaters and liars deserve to be stuck with other cheaters and liars. Nathan, when she eventually cheats on you, and she will, because if she'll do it with you, she'll do it to you, remember this moment. Remember how easy it was for her to betray her own sister. That's who you're building your future with." I leave them there, sitting in wreckage of their own creation, and drive straight to my parents' house. Mom answers the door looking happy to see me. "Honey, I thought you'd left for Denver already. Come in, I just made tea." "I need to talk to you and Dad," I interrupt. "Both of you, right now, it's about Nathan and Brooke." 20 minutes later, my parents are sitting on their couch in stunned silence, having just watched the video on my phone. My mother is crying. My father looks like he wants to hit something. "I can't believe this," Dad finally says. "Nathan seemed like such a good man, and Brooke has always been selfish," I say bluntly. "We just made excuses for it because she's the baby. But this isn't youthful selfishness, Dad. This is calculated betrayal." Mom reaches for my hand. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. What can we do? Support me through the divorce. Don't let Brooke guilt you into thinking this is somehow complicated or a gray area. What they did was wrong, and I need you to acknowledge that without trying to play peacemaker." Dad nods firmly. "You have our full support, and Brooke is not welcome in this house until she's apologized and made serious amends." It's more than I expected, and something inside me finally cracks. I start crying for the first time since this whole nightmare began. The divorce moved quickly. Nathan, terrified of the video going public, agreed to every single term Rebecca proposed. I kept the townhouse since I'd made the down payment with my inheritance from my grandmother. I kept most of our savings since I could prove he'd spent thousands on his affair. And I kept my dignity, which turned out to be worth more than all the assets combined. Brooke tried to apologize multiple times via text, long, rambling messages about how she'd lost herself and made terrible choices, and hoped someday I could forgive her. I responded to exactly one message. "You have 54 days left to repay the $10,000. She blocked me after that, which saved me the trouble of blocking her first. Nathan moved in with Brooke about 2 weeks after I kicked him out. Vanessa, Brooke's roommate who I'd befriended, texted me updates without me even asking. They fight constantly. Last night, Nathan accused her of flirting with the bartender at their local brewery. Karma is beautiful. The most satisfying moment came 6 weeks after everything imploded. I was having drinks with some mutual friends at Union Station in downtown Denver, people who'd initially sided with Nathan because his version of events involved me being unreasonable and vindictive. I'd brought my lawyer, Rebecca, who'd agreed to join us for moral support. "I just want everyone to understand what really happened," I told the group. "Nathan's been telling people I overreacted to him developing feelings for someone else. That's not what happened." I played them a carefully edited version of the video, nothing too explicit, but enough to show Nathan and Brooke together in her bedroom while I confronted them. The audio of Nathan saying, "So trusting, it's almost too easy," was particularly effective. The table went silent. Then Marcus, Nathan's best friend from college, spoke up. "I owe you an apology. He told me you'd gotten paranoid and controlling. He didn't mention he was sleeping with your sister." One by one, our mutual friends apologized and asked how they could support me. Several of them admitted Nathan had been asking them to take sides, painting me as unstable. "He showed up at my place asking to stay there after you kicked him out," another friend, Jake, admitted. "He made it sound like you'd lost your mind over nothing. I told him I couldn't get involved, but I believed his version. I'm sorry." The truth was spreading naturally now, without me having to defend myself. People were seeing Nathan and Brooke's relationship in public. The age gap wasn't huge, but the context made it creepy, and doing the math about when it must have started. Former supporters were distancing themselves. Nathan's reputation at work was suffering because even though I'd kept the video private, people talk. And Brooke's friends were ostracizing her for the sister code violation. I didn't have to destroy them. They destroyed themselves. I just refused to help them rebuild. 4 months after catching them together, I'm sitting on the balcony of my townhouse. My townhouse now, just mine, watching the sunset over the Denver skyline from my Cherry Creek neighborhood. I've redecorated, removing every trace of Nathan's presence. I've started therapy to work through the betrayal and rebuild my ability to trust. I've gotten a promotion at work, throwing myself into my career with renewed focus. And I've started dating again, slowly, with someone I met at a rock-climbing gym in Highlands Ranch who knows my whole story and thinks I handled it like a complete badass. Brooke sent me a check for $3,000 last week with a note saying it's all she can afford right now. I deposited it without responding. Nathan texted me on what would have been our 4th anniversary. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." I blocked the number without replying. Because here's what I finally understand. They didn't deserve a response. They didn't deserve my tears, my anger, or my energy. What they deserved was exactly what they got. Each other, with all the mistrust and insecurity that comes from relationships built on betrayal. Every time Nathan looks at Brooke, he'll wonder if she's being faithful. Every time Brooke looks at Nathan, she'll remember that she was worth destroying her family for, but apparently not worth being honest about. They'll always know that their relationship started with lies and required my pain to exist. That's a prison they built themselves. I just walked away and left them locked inside it. I'm Sloane. I'm 27 years old. And I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone, it's letting them destroy themselves while you build something better. They thought I'd cry and beg and fall apart. Instead, I documented, calculated, and walked away with everything that mattered. And every single day, I'm grateful they underestimated me. Because that underestimation gave me the freedom to become someone stronger than they ever imagined I could be. The story you've just heard represents what happens when betrayed women choose strategy over emotion, power over victimhood. I'm sharing this to remind you that you don't owe your betrayers forgiveness, explanations, or second chances. If you were Sloane, would you have exposed them publicly or handled it privately? Would you have tried to salvage the relationship with your sister, or would you have cut her off completely? I want to know your thoughts because every story shared reminds someone else that they're not alone in their pain. God bless you, and may you always have the clarity to see betrayal for what it is and the courage to choose yourself. Meanwhile, on the final screen, I'm leaving you with one of the most powerful channels for true revenge stories, King's Revenge Vault. Every story there will remind you that betrayal doesn't break you. It reveals who deserves your loyalty. Thank you for staying with me until this moment, and remember, being underestimated is only an advantage if you're smart enough to use it.